I'm going to start by asking you about the genesis of this film. It has many elements of La Piscine, the film that it kind of speaks to, but you've also introduced many elements of your own storytelling here. So can you talk a little bit about the genesis of the film?
I think that an occasion can only sparkle something great. I've been asked to meet with Olivier Courson and Ron Halpern, who run Studio Canal, a few years ago, and they spoke to me about, having seen I Am Love before, the possibility of doing something together, and in particular to try to think of something after La Piscine, this movie of the 60s by Jacques Deray with Alain Delon and Romy Schneider. And this was the beginning of everything, and in a way it was a nice starting point upon which we could then fly somewhere else.
And can you talk a little bit about the writing process and also the importance of the location here in terms of the story that you developed?
I think Ron and Olivier will remember that I said in the meeting, yes, let's do it, but let's make it happen in Pantelleria. I thought that these four people closed into this world of desire, they had to be facing the powerful otherness of a place like Pantelleria. I'm sorry we can't hear the beautiful Rolling Stones here. Anyway. And in fact, Pantelleria was there since the beginning of my conversations with the writer Dave Kajanek, who wrote this beautiful script.
Rafe, can I ask you a little bit about how you became involved in the project and at what stage and what attracted you to working with Luca?
I thought the script was fantastic. I'd never seen La Piscine, and I hadn't seen it, and I still have not seen it. I read this great script by Dave Kaganich. I thought it was unusual, it was provocative, the writing style was very cinematic in a way that's different from a lot of screenplays which have a sort of generic, slightly overly crafted feel. And then I met Luca, who talked to me about the script and about Harry. So the combination of Dave Kaganich's script and meeting Luca and the role of Harry, that was the attraction.
Harry is a kind of charming rogue, but also in many ways appalling, in a way that's endearing. So how did you kind of, embrace that as a character?
Harry, c'est moi.
Did I just call you appalling?
No, I don't think I'd ever been asked to play a guy who gets naked and dances and sings bad karaoke before. There was a... no, it was... the way Luca... the way you talked to me about this force field of energy that Harry comes into this duo, bringing his daughter, but a sort of man who is determined to push people's truths into their faces and sort of shake them out of their facades or their personas, and has within him his own sort of, he prods people, he pushes people, he provokes Paul, he provokes Tilda, but underneath he's a sort of, I think, a rather sad, lost person who's looking for a human connection, and which is the only connection he thinks he's ever had is with Marianne. So I think underneath he's a sort of man scrambling for some real human contact.
Luca, can I ask you, this is, again, a film where you have characters set in a very rarefied world, and then you introduce the elements of what's really happening in the island to, significantly contrast with that. So I guess the choice about the sort of rock and roll setting and then how you bring the illegal immigration into that story.
Well, starting from the Pantelleria point of view, we had to be really organic to the place. And I believe in that. I believe in really laying out premises that have to be carrying consequences to them, to it. The idea was that the rock and roll has always been there as a sort of strange, ambiguous force, a revolution that failed its promises in a way, but also very nurturing, driving force since it came out in the world. And I think there is an element of nostalgia and also an element of forwardness in the rock and roll that is very strongly part of the Harry Hawks persona and the way he opens around the people. And the reality, the other, I would say I like to think of the island bringing a very fierce otherness, natural human otherness to this closed group of people and forces them to face, I would say, the ethical question of how you deal with the other, how you deny the other its individuality and you use the other for your own purposes. It's something that I was really interested into.
Yeah, and that is something that I think is really brilliantly carried through the film.
Thank you.
Can I ask you as well, as ever, we have high expectations of your production design and your costuming. This film, I think I characterized it in the program note as being, it starts out with everyone with their clothes off, and some people put more on, and some people take more off as the film progresses. But clothing is a really important aspect, especially in Tilda's character. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, they are on an island having a holiday, and people is naked on holiday. I think it's truthful. All of us, sometimes during a holiday, we ended up being naked. Some few of us like to be very naked all the time, like Harry. Some will cover when someone else is coming in the frame. But anyway, I have a great interest in life. The dress doesn't make the person. In Italy we say l'abito non fa il monaco, which means the dress doesn't make the monk. In cinema it does a lot, because you have such fantastic artists playing and you help immediacy to the audience by the way they can show themselves. And I'm a bit peculiar about that, a bit almost too peculiar maybe, but I don't know. Yes, I run away from style. I think it's about behavior and people. I'm very proud of the shirts of Harry Hawks in the film. It took a long time to chisel them properly, and he is great actor, fantastic director, and very specific.
Rafe, can I ask you about working with this extraordinary cast? And was it all, from script, or were you also, working with Luca as you shot the film on your characters?
I think the four of us got on and found, the material. I think what can connect actors is they have great material. So, and all equally balanced in terms of the roles, 4 equal roles. So we were on an ensemble of sorts. And so I think that, the tensions and nuances available in the writing for us to ping pong between each other in the scenes really helped us bond as a group and know who we were in the group, in the relationships. What was the second part of your question?
Oh, God, it's nearly midnight. I've forgotten.
I had it in my head about
Someone remember?
Oh no, working the degree to which you worked.
Improvisation.
Right.
Yes.
I didn't use the word improvisation.
I did just now.
All right, you can have it.
No, there was what your question made me think of the flexibility. We had a great script. But also, I think Luca and Dave understood that without changing it, there are ways in which you can slightly remold a phrase or a sentence because of the behavior that Luca, I think, was looking for, and the naturalness and the spontaneity. So I remember going up to Dave and saying, look, I just want to tweak this, it feels, and he would be very open to. A lot of writers wouldn't be, I suppose.
Well, but a lot of writers that aren't invited on the set, as we did invite him.
Yeah. I think what when we met in Luca's hometown in Kramer with Dave early on, I mean, when sort of maybe 2 months before we were going to start shooting, that was the beginning of a working process of Luca and Dave wanting to hear actors' inputs, suggestions, and genuinely so that. You know, and Dave really listening and and absorbing what one offered, and at the same time, you know, Luca and Dave holding true to the film they wanted to make.
I
think that fluidity and immediacy is very present.
And it felt like it on the set. I mean, I think I felt that you were always alert to the possibilities that you had thought of a scene, that you were, with Yorick, you were constantly alert to camera possibilities or performance. So there was a sense of inventiveness and spontaneity from Luca.
And Luca, can I ask you about the title, which of course is very much a nod to the David Hockney painting, and what brought that title to this film?
Well, the movie is, in a way, it's also about Britishness, with these two great British characters, like the rock star and the producer. And I wanted to think, how can you think of this archetypical story from the perspective of those great artists that back in the 60s were, in a way, avant-gardists of their own times? And David Hockney, sharpness, sense of color, and sense of mystery in a very apparently simple image suddenly became a guide for us. What is happening under the water? Who is under the water? Who is in the house? All these questions, in a way, led us to think in this way about our movie. What is the consequences of behavior and the relationship between one another? And I think I learned the power of art through Hockney when I was a teenager. And I love him very much, and he's quintessentially British, even if he spent a lot of time in California, still British.
Well, I think we can declare you honorary British tonight.
Thank you.
Will you all join me in thanking
Honor.
Luca Guadagnino and Ray Fiennes?